So for a lot of this, I think it mostly can wait. That's Bernard. Oliver's back. That might be Milano.
Milano, Kincaid, Samuel, Bernard, all day to day. Is what McDermott said within the hour here. Palmer and Daquan Jones, both week to week. They were both hurt last night. Jones, during warm-ups,
that was a blow.
Popped his calf, is how McDermott termed it after the game, and Palmer got hurt on his second reception of the game. Was there a flag on that for a hip drop tackle? Because he got hip drop tackled there, I thought.
There's never been a flag for a hip drop tackle. There's only fines.
Oh.
Have you ever seen a flag thrown?
I feel like yes, but I might be confusing that with horse collar.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen a flag for it. Yeah. It's always just like the next day, and there's replays, and maybe there's a fine. Sal Capaccio on the Wester hotline. Well, Sal, some night in Atlanta, maybe starting with Daquan Jones after you got done with us, we had that injury. I saw it first from you. And, I don't know, I'm not a big believer in sort of tone-setting stuff, but that wasn't great to hear.
No, not at all. And when you're already only at 4 defensive tackles, they had 3, and they elevated Jordan Phillips. Now you're going to you only have 4, and then you lose one, you're back down to 3, and one of them is a guy who hasn't played in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, right? I mean, at Oliver, what's his conditioning level? You're not expecting him to go out there and play 80% of the snaps, and now suddenly you have to have all those guys play so much, and I'm sure by the end of the game, that's tiring and taxing on you. So that was one. He's week to week, as McDermott just said to us on our Zoom call. He's week to week. Excuse me, Daquan Jones with the calf. He was in a boot after the game. We saw him. Josh Palmer. So I just heard your conversation. I thought it was hip drop as well. The guys this morning said it wasn't. I went back and looked. It doesn't look like it's hip drop because he pulled him down he's on the ground. Like the guy, the tackler is kind of on the ground and pulls him down. I thought it was hip drop as well, but you're right, Mike. They don't actually throw a flag for that anymore. It's all it is you get fined later, but it did look like it in real time to me. I'll say that. Palmer
goes up for that ball. It'd be a tough penalty. He's jumping to catch it. He sort of stops and jumps to catch it. Well, it's low on the list today, isn't it? Just what happened on that play. Sal, what went wrong in this game? It wasn't one of these games where, even last week, I think you could say, well, but for this and this, this bounce or this call, you get there. I mean, this was not a game. I mean, the Bills were just never the better team in this game, I want to say.
They weren't. What went wrong was, again, the same thing that went wrong in the Patriots in a different way, details. I mean, I think if you don't line up offsides in the first play of the game, it's a totally different game. I really do. I mean, this is a basic part of football that you should know. Lining up right, lining up on sides. Sean McDermott said this after the game, and he's right. I mean, you learn this when you're a young kid playing in Pop Warner, and people want to blame coaches or whatever. Look, they go over this stuff. They do this stuff in practice. So, yeah, I that's number one. Details, lining up offsides on Ed Oliver when they have a 5-yard stop or in the backfield, whatever it was, 3-4-yard stop. Should have been 2nd and 13. Instead, it's 1st and 5 because in offsides, there goes Bijan Robinson. You made it easier on them to basically run that type of play and just kind of – and then he runs 81 yards.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, all those things matter.
Right. Maybe, if it's 2nd and 13, maybe that's a pass play.
100%.
Who knows? And maybe you get them again or whatever. You might have them on their heels. The lining offsides thing, I don't know if I've ever heard a guy talk about how it happens to them because it doesn't really make that much sense to me that you could ever really do it. I understand that it's his head, right, that's in the neutral zone, right? But if you're a defensive lineman, you're looking at the ball, aren't you, to see when it's going to be snapped? So how do you not recognize that you're too far? If Greg Rousseau, in other words, is looking to his right, can he tell from the angle I'm a half a foot or 2 inches or whatever too far ahead?
Yes, you're supposed to. It's the same thing the wide receiver in the Chiefs game a couple years ago, right? I mean, sometimes you're so far away from the ball. Sometimes he's not as far away in that sense. But yes, I'm not making an excuse here. You're 100% right. But sometimes when you line up, you don't realize there's also a crown on the field, right? That could kind of mess with you a little bit. Just kind of the angle you're on. Maybe you're on an angle where you're trying to get to the quarterback as a defensive end, as a pass rusher. And then I think Ed Oliver he jumped. Ed Oliver actually left a little early and was in the neutral zone.
Right, that's
his
different.
particular play.
Right.
And it's the same thing, but watch the ball. The ball's right in front of you if you're Ed Oliver, right? Watch the ball. So anyway, that's number one. The other thing was, they just did not have answers for all the pressure. And look, we talked about this before the game about being familiar with the opponent. And I said, well, they have coaches. Jeff Ulbrich had a game plan. He had a real good game plan to dial up exotic pressures on Josh Allen. They knew this team very well, and they just kept doing what they do best. They went after the Bills, and I think they said the Bills don't have answers to beat us if we come after them, and they didn't. And Josh has been so good against the blitz, but you got to get open early in the down, and they just don't have guys who are getting open early in the down. I also think losing Josh Palmer really hurt them in this game, guys. The Bills had a game plan for Josh Palmer. He had 60 yards before he was hurt, before the first half, and 2 catches. I thought he was a guy that they were really going to focus on, and that was going to be a big part of what they did. So, a lot went wrong, and then, of course, the first half defense was just abysmal again. Good job in the second half, really good. Doing it with duct tape and whatever. But putting it together. But that put them behind, and they couldn't recover. I point more towards, though, you have the ball 3 times in the second half, down 1 score with Josh Allen as your quarterback, and you can't score, and that's a problem.
Yeah, these were like 3 and outs usually too throughout the night when they.
Except for the other one that was the end around to Elijah Moore, right? That was the fumble. That's 8 plays. Now look, if he doesn't fumble, maybe you go for it on 4th down because he gets stopped right at the line. But because he fumbled, it goes backward. He gets stopped. I think that's how it went either way. But if he doesn't lose yardage, at least, maybe. But my issue is, I'm sure with everybody else, you have Josh Allen and you have James Cook. Run the ball forward twice, and you're getting a first down.
Maybe next game.
They have really been, I think, spooked since the championship game about the sneak. Like, they missed a couple of times in that game. One, of course, very notable near the end that a lot of people will still tell you they had, but the spot was bad or whatever. But I remember as that game was unfolding, the first time they got stuffed, I thought, I wonder if they're going to get scared off of this play. And they did. They kept trying it, but it didn't work ultimately. And now it just feels like maybe they're trying to find something else that they can fold in here, or at least maybe, Sal, right, run this end-around play, at least give teams, Philadelphia did this a couple of weeks ago, give them something else to think about on this, and then maybe we can go back to the safe, easy, version of the tush-push.
Yeah, and look, he wasn't defending, and I'm not defending the call, but Eric Wood made a good point in the broadcast when he said the advantage when you do something like that is when you line up as a tush push, of course, you're bringing so many defenders into the box. You're bringing so many defenders from tackle to tackle. So if you can execute that play, he could be out the gate and he's gone. He has a big play. And that's what they're trying to do there. And I get that. I just think that, why outsmart? It feels to me like the Bills are trying to outsmart themselves on offense sometimes. And you don't need to do that. Just do what works. And it was working with James Cook. James Cook had a great start to the second half. And just hand him the ball and go forward. Or you don't even have to have Josh Allen do it. I think you were just running the ball well enough to do it.
Which game did Vandemark play? Because there was also a play in the game he played that was
Saints.
A short yardage play where he had to come from his, from right to left. And if he gets there, I think that it ends up being a big gain, but he trips on Torrance. And so this is 3 games in a row where they've had some sort of mishap in I don't know, I'm going to settle for too cute of a play call in a short yardage situation.
Yep, that's right. And that was a counter type of handoff play. So Sean was asked about it again today on the Zoom call. He said, because he said last night, that what was his phrasing he used last night? We can be better than that or something like that. So he was asked to follow up on that today. And his quote to us was, Joe's a great offensive coordinator and play caller, but you go through a game and there are always plays you want back. He knows how I feel about it. We talked about it again this morning. I remain confident in him putting us in good position.
How do you feel about the Bills' failure to cover Drake London last night, Sal? Was it different guys? Was there a strategic flaw in what they were doing? It's a little bit tough right now because questions abound about the Bills receivers and how good they are at getting open. Brady had a comment last week about just how something to the effect of how rarely does anybody really separate. I'm not sure that
in
that's
the league, right? Yeah,
that's exactly it. But yeah, and then London had an amazing night.
It was literally when you're in the backyard, or I should say out in the street, and you're like, go to the fire hydrant and turn around, and like you do that and just nobody's home, and you just throw it to him, right? I mean, that's what he did. He just went to the fire hydrant and turned around, and there was nobody there. And the Bills are playing zone defense, zone coverage, and he's just finding zones. He's in the slot, and when you're in the slot and you're closer to the middle of the field, now he didn't play slot every play, I'm sure, but it's easier to find zones because things spread out in the middle of the field. You have more seams, you can do that. And they knew where the Bills would kind of be and what they wanted to do. And he's just like, okay, I'm just going to go there. And they made things so easy on their quarterback. You know, Shaw made a comment last night, which he's right. We made things too hard on their quarterback. Well, the Falcons made things easy on their quarterback.
Right.
I mean, Michael Penix didn't have to do much in this game. He had decent numbers. They were okay. 20, 32, 250 is nice yardage. But, I mean, I don't even know what his ADOT was. He didn't throw the ball downfield a couple times, and usually they didn't hit it when they threw it downfield, to be honest with you. There were a couple that were mid-level passes, but it was, okay, Drake, just run 10 steps and turn around, and I'll find you because it's zone defense. And, I mean, once the Bills started to play a little more man-to-man, they were tighter in coverage. That was great. That was working for them a little bit better. That was a nice adjustment they made in the second half. But I don't get it. You guys talked about it before. I saw that when I looked at the box score after the game, I'm looking at it right now, first of all, 16 targets for Drake London. 16 targets.
Half
that tells
the team
you what
total.
they were thinking about, of Drake London in this game. He had 10 catches. Outside of that, 0 catches for any wide receiver. Think about that. They had one receiver have 10 catches. No other receiver caught a pass for them in this game.
Yeah, they play without Mooney. They scratch Ray McLeod. It's almost like they thought, we're not going to need any other receivers.
Casey Washington had 2 targets.
2 empty targets.
Right. No catches.
Right.
Is there a Hairston update?
There is. Sean said there is a chance they will open his practice window in the coming week. So I'm guessing that would be next week because they're not going to practice this week. They have a bye week. So that would give them 21 full days next week to be on the field starting next week. And then you're looking at what, week 7, so week 8, 9, 10. So week 10 would be the comeback, I guess, for him to be on the active roster. So we'll see about that. Didn't hear anything on Tyler Bass. Unfortunately, didn't get to that. And we heard the Hairston, and then I thought about it later. Didn't know anything about Bass. He didn't say anything about Bass, but on Hairston, he did say there's a chance there. And we all know that Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi are coming back as of today, by the way. Now, I don't think they have to be put on the active roster today. They might, but it won't matter, guys. They have 51, so they'll just put 2 guys. Whenever it happens this week or next week, whatever the operation is of the league and how you have to do these things, it's not going to matter because they have 2 open roster spots.
Okay, so they're going to get away here. When does that start? Are they there tomorrow, or is it over?
Well, there's nothing for the media. That was today. So I don't know what their exact schedule is of their meetings and workouts and things like that. But generally on the bye week, the players are here through like Wednesday, and they'll do some different stuff in the facility with the coaches, and and then they'll get away as the week goes on. And then CBA, like in the CBA, they have to have 4 days consecutive off. So that's usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.